You wake up choking on pulverized rock. The dust reaches your throat before your thoughts do, thick, dry, bitter with iron and sulfur. Your helmet light flickers against a wall of collapsed concrete less than a meter from your face. Every breath sounds amplified inside the respirator. Mechanical, wet. Somewhere deeper in the tunnel, steel cables strain under impossible pressure, then a sharp metallic crack cuts through the darkness. Then silence again. Not true silence. The slow hiss of your oxygen regulator. You try to sit up. Pain detonates through your ribs and left hip. Your leg is trapped beneath twisted rail track and fractured stone. You feel warmth spreading inside your boot. Blood, probably arterial. You stop checking after a while. Your chest-mounted gauge pulses through the dust, 71 hours, 58 minutes, and 12 seconds, 72 hours of emergency air. The number becomes the only thing in the world that still moves normally. 3 years earlier, you entered the mine through Processing Gate C with 37 other contractors. No introductions, no conversation, just paperwork under fluorescent lights that hummed loud enough to make your teeth ache. You remember the smell first, industrial lubricant, wet concrete, burned wiring insulation. The receptionist behind armored glass slid your contract through a steel tray without looking at you once. 11 pages, hazard waivers, non-disclosure agreements, emergency casualty clauses, a compensation figure large enough to erase common sense. You signed every page. Everyone did. The elevator carried you 1,400 meters underground in complete silence. 12 men packed shoulder to shoulder inside a steel cage vibrating hard enough to blur vision. Nobody spoke during descent. Veterans knew better. New hires learned quickly. When the doors opened, heat rolled over you immediately. 39 degrees Celsius, humidity near 90%, air thick with stone dust and diesel exhaust. That was the beginning. At first you were nobody, just another body assigned to Tunnel Maintenance Sector 4B. You inspected support bolts, logged pressure readings, carried drilling charges through shafts narrow enough to scrape both shoulders at once. 12-hour shifts became 14, 14 became 16. The clocks underground stopped mattering after the first month. Artificial light replaced daylight. The mind decided when you woke up and when you slept. Your world narrowed into routines measured by oxygen percentages and production quotas. Wake at 4:30, gear inspection at 5 o'clock, descent by 5:40, excavation until blackout exhaustion. Repeat. The machinery never stopped. Drill heads screamed through granite 20 hours a day. Ventilation turbines thundered overhead. Hydraulic crushers shook dust loose from tunnel ceilings constantly. Even during sleep, you still heard the vibration inside your skull. After 6 months, management promoted you to structural survey operations. Not because you were exceptional, because 3 men above you died within the same quarter. Promotions underground were usually vacancies with paperwork attached. Your new job placed you deeper in the mine than most workers ever went. You crawled through unfinished shafts carrying thermal scanners and methane detectors while executives monitored production from climate-controlled offices hundreds of meters above. You learned the system quickly. Official reports were clean. Real reports were verbal. If a tunnel showed stress fractures under 3 centimeters, operations continued. If methane concentration stayed below 7%, ventilation repairs could wait. If casualties remained under projected quarterly thresholds, corporate inspectors stayed satisfied. Numbers mattered more than people because numbers could be filed. Bodies could not. You stopped arguing during your 2nd year. At first you tried. You submitted maintenance requests for failing supports in Sector 12. Denied. You reported overheating drill assemblies operating beyond tolerance. Deferred. You warned supervisors about microfractures spreading across lower excavation chambers after repeated blasting cycles. A compliance officer thanked you for your professionalism and archived the report. Nothing changed. Production targets increased by 12% instead. That was when you understood the real structure of the mine, not the tunnels, the bureaucracy. The mine operated on layers of plausible deniability thick enough to bury everyone inside it. Nobody directly ordered unsafe practices. Nobody openly ignored danger. They simply adjusted acceptable thresholds until disaster became statistically ordinary. Every death already existed inside a spreadsheet somewhere. You adapted because adaptation was survival. You learned how to phrase reports carefully. Immediate collapse risk became elevated structural instability. Fatal ventilation failure became temporary atmospheric inconsistency. Creative compliance, that was the phrase managers used. Never lie directly, just reduce urgency until accountability dissolves. You started approving reinforcement delays yourself after 18 months. At first your hands shook signing the forms. Later you barely noticed. The money helped. Base salary $240,000 annually. Hazard bonuses increased after every casualty event. Isolation pay, deep zone pay, conflict region incentives. The company deposited compensation every 2 weeks with machine precision, enough money to buy houses you never visited, and relationships you no longer maintained. Your sister stopped calling after the second missed funeral. Your father left 2 voicemails before giving up entirely. You listened to neither. Conversations with people above ground became difficult anyway. They spoke too slowly. Their problems sounded abstract. Traffic, weather, restaurants. You spent your days calculating how long oxygen lasted inside collapsed shafts. You monitored heat signatures from body recovery teams. You signed off on casualty retrieval schedules based on decomposition rates. Normal life began feeling fictional. Down here, identity became procedural. You stopped using your first name after year 2 because nobody else used theirs either. Men were identified by sector numbers, access levels, and biometric scans. Personal history only complicated operations. Some workers claimed they used to be military. Others said prison. Nobody asked for proof. The deeper sections of the mine erased backgrounds eventually. By your 3rd year, you supervised emergency breach inspections during live excavation. The work paid double because survival odds were lower than 30% during active fault shifts. You accepted automatically. You accepted everything automatically by then. That morning began like every other. Coffee from a vending unit that dispensed liquid tasting faintly of copper. Safety briefing at 6:10. Tunnel pressure review. Blast schedule confirmation. At 11:47, your scanner detected thermal instability spreading beneath Sector 9. At 12:20, you submitted a halt recommendation. At 12:43, headquarters rejected it. Production losses from delay exceeded projected risk exposure. The excavation continued. By 14:17, the mountain gave way. The vibration reached you first through your boots, then came the lights failing 1 row at a time down the tunnel, then sound, not an explosion, something worse, a deep structural roar like the earth inhaling. The shaft folded inward. Men disappeared mid-sentence. One moment they shouted coordinates into radios, next moment concrete and darkness swallowed them completely. You remember being thrown sideways. You remember your legs snapping beneath debris. You remember waking up alone. Now dust drifts slowly through your helmet light while your oxygen monitor continues its countdown. 61 hours, 11 minutes, 3 seconds. Time behaves differently underground after collapse. Minutes stretch, thoughts repeat. The temperature rises gradually as ventilation systems fail. Sweat cools against your skin until hypothermia starts despite the heat. Carbon dioxide thickens the air inside confined spaces. Your breathing becomes shallow without permission. You inventory supplies 3 times, half a bottle of water, 1 flare, 1 morphine injector, a sidearm with 2 rounds issued for hostile site extraction zones. No rescue beacon, no backup oxygen. The company stopped providing redundant systems after budget restructuring 8 months earlier. You approved that reduction yourself. The realization arrives quietly, not guilt, recognition. You helped build the machine currently killing you. Hours pass inside darkness broken only by failing battery light. You begin hearing noises that may not exist. Shifting rock, metal tapping, breathing beyond the wall. At first you assume auditory distortion from stress exposure. Then the tapping repeats, rhythmic, deliberate. Another survivor. You scream until your throat tears raw. The tunnel absorbs the sound instantly. Dust falls from overhead supports. Then the tapping resumes closer this time. You drag yourself through broken concrete using your elbows. Your trapped leg tears loose with a sensation beyond pain. Something hot spills down your calf. Shock dulls it quickly afterward. The tunnel narrows ahead into a fractured gap barely wide enough to crawl through. Fresh debris shifts continuously overhead. Every movement risks secondary collapse. Your oxygen reads 184403. The tapping stops. You push your helmet light through the crack. A man lies trapped beneath a collapsed slab 20 feet away. Security contractor, senior authorization clearance. You recognize him immediately. He signed the approval override that kept Sector 9 operational despite structural warnings. Blood covers one side of his face. Each breath rattles wetly in his chest. Beside him sits an intact emergency oxygen tank detached from his rig during collapse. Full pressure gauge. Enough air for 1 person, not 2. For a long moment, neither of you speaks. The mine creaks around you like an animal settling its weight. Then he whispers 1 word. Please. Your training calculates survival probability automatically. If you free him, extraction time doubles. Both of you likely suffocate before rescue drilling reaches the chamber. If you take the oxygen, your own survival odds increase to 38%. Still poor, but possible. The mathematics feel clinical, simple. Your hand closes around the pistol grip, 2 rounds. No witnesses underground, no investigations if nobody survives. The company will categorize the collapse as unavoidable geological failure regardless, because you helped write identical reports before. The realization settles slowly through exhaustion and oxygen deprivation. The system was never designed to protect people, only continuity. Workers replaced workers, supervisors replaced supervisors. The mind continued, always. Even now, somewhere above you, managers are already calculating recovery costs, insurance exposure, replacement labor, media containment procedures. A meeting is probably happening inside an air-conditioned office while you bleed underground. Someone is presenting casualty percentages through a projector. Someone is discussing whether recovery operations remain financially viable. The machine continues functioning perfectly. That is the moment the illusion finally breaks. Not during the collapse. Not during the pain. Now. Because you understand your death will not interrupt anything. The tunnel remains silent except for breathing and distant structural groans. The trapped contractor stares at you without speaking again. Maybe he already understands your decision before you make it. Maybe he made identical decisions himself for years. The oxygen timer continues downward. 17:03:41. Dust settles across both of you evenly. No rank matters here. No salary, no authority, just air. You lower yourself against the cold rock wall. Your helmet light dims another fraction. Somewhere far above, excavation teams will eventually drill toward this chamber. Recovery crews will retrieve whatever remains accessible. Corporate statements will describe the incident as tragic but statistically unforeseeable. New contractors will arrive within weeks. They will sign the same waivers beneath the same fluorescent lights, same steel tray, same elevator descent. Some 20-year-old recruit will stand where you once stood, listening to machinery hum beneath the earth while pretending not to feel afraid. The mind will teach him the same lessons slowly. How survival becomes compliance, how compromise becomes routine, how identity erodes quietly inside systems built to consume people faster than stone. And one day, years from now, he may wake beneath collapsed rock, listening to his own oxygen monitor count backward through darkness. The cycle will continue exactly as designed, with or without you.